Hi all, Agent here, and we're going to fly Raptor, the Interceptor copter again. If you missed the first video, I built this specifically for the plasma cannonball weekend because my plasma bombers were not performing as I wanted them to, the way I used them. So I built this to intercept the other plasma bombers, and it turned out to be a really good build. So I'm definitely going to keep it after this event is over. So we're going to hover up here. We're going to survey what's going on just in case there are rails and arrow flak or anything that directly counters aircraft. And I've got an ally down here on this tower, so I'm not going to worry about attacking the tower. I'm going to hope that he knows what he's doing. And I'm actually going to stop these guys from rushing in here by shooting them and initiating combat outside of the tower area. If they get inside the tower area and then we start fighting, one of them is probably going to turn his attention to the tower, and we run the risk of having it taken from us or losing the fight because they're in a better position. So right now I want to try to hold them back, and we did get that tower, did my job, helped stop these other two, and now a third guy from rushing in and capturing the tower and initiating combat right in that area. So we're going to wipe this guy out. We saved our teammate. Maybe he didn't need saving, but we covered him. We provided support for him while he took that tower. Not concerned about the points. I'll get plenty of points through damage if I keep wrecking these guys like this build is good for. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm not going to pay a whole lot of attention to towers unless we get into a position where we need them and no one on my team is good at capturing them. So we're going to back off right now. We got lit up by some lock-on missiles. I prefer to be the one that initiates combat with lock-on missile launcher users, be it copter or be it mech, because you get the jump on them. They have to wait to achieve that lock to hit you in the vast majority of cases. So if you're the one that initiates combat, in most cases you can shoot that launcher off before they can deal damage to you with it. So we're going to turn our attention to this guy on the ground with the plasma cannonballs. I was pretty sure he was rushing in to kill my ally that had taken cover behind that rock outcropping. So we're going to deal with him. We're going to turn our attention to another plasma ground build, and we're going to wipe him out as well. With the plasma cannonball weekend, they're not very good at fighting back against aircraft, so I have an even greater advantage right now being a laser interceptor, copter interceptor, I guess. It's still an interceptor, and it actually flies like a heavy bomber or heavy interceptor sometimes, but it also has the ability to hover. So we shoot this guy's launcher off. He was using that against my teammate. He swaps over to his plasma, which he really should have been using against him in the first place, and we managed to save my teammate over there and wipe him out. So my teammate is hopefully healing right now. I backed off. I don't want the lock-on missile launcher users to be the one to initiate combat. I want to fight them on my terms, not their terms. I want to have the advantage, and if I'm the one that attacks them first before they start to initiate that lock, or right as they start to do it, I've got the advantage, and I can usually shoot that launcher off before they can deal too much damage to me with it. So now we've got arrow flak. I'm going to back off a little bit. We're going to go down here and heal. We are still able to fly and able to perform combat, but I want to be at full capacity when I fight this guy. I haven't gotten a good look at his build yet, but now that he's close, he's moving in on me. It looks like he's going to be easy to deal with, and he actually was. He was very easy to dispatch and get rid of. Both of his arrow flaks are mounted to struts, and they're very easy to shoot off, so he's not going to be a problem for me most of the match if he's not right by his base shield and I'm able to deal with that arrow flak. So there's a plus for me. So we're going to move in. They've managed to take this tower. We don't have a lot of allies fighting over here. The missile launcher guy over here in the mech is trying to achieve a lock, so I dip down onto that platform to break the lock, and then I move in. I reinitiate combat. I make him start to achieve that lock all over again. And as you can see, we've shot his launcher off. I'm taking fire from some other sources too, but this guy is going down. He's dealt with, and he's on the retreat. So we're going to try to kill him. That is the whole point of this build, is to deal damage and kill. I normally do not advocate chasing kills in battle arena, but our team seems to be pretty decent at taking towers. So in this case, in this match, these circumstances, I'm going to chase those kills as long as it's not going to put me in a position where I've overextended and I'm doing something stupid just to get a kill. Kind of like what I'm doing now. I'm flying a little bit too close to their base, but we're just going to pop over this rise. I'm going to spot all of these guys here. There are way too many enemies over here for me to be fighting here. I have overextended, so I'm going to blink out and we're going to reset that combat situation. We're going to back out and go to ranged combat. Haven't taken too much damage yet, but I'm going to try to focus on this Chain Shredder Interceptor at every opportunity, because he's a very powerful build against my ground builds and against other aircraft that we may have. If he gets close to them, he's just going to utterly shred them, which is the whole point of that weapon. That's why they call it a Chain Shredder, is that it will utterly decimate anything that it gets close to. As long as it has a chance to wind up and start putting out that damage, it is going to just dominate close quarters combat. So we want to fight him at range when we can. We've cleared out that side of the map, so I'm kind of going to go hover high in the middle. I do try to avoid going too high in this match. It's a bad habit I've got, is flying high. Just because you can fly high doesn't mean you should fly high. There's nothing to give you cover up here, and if you're going to fly high, you have to be very mindful of render distance and the range that each weapon can reach, and how effective they are at hitting you. When you're low, you have all these obstructions in the terrain and these structures on the ground that you can use for cover, especially from rails and the lock-on missile launcher. So we're going to hang out over here for just a second, kind of see what's going on. I don't rush around the map. I like to think about what I'm doing and evaluate the situation before I go do something. And I like to be where I'm needed. I don't like to be where I'm not needed. Like, say there's an enemy that's down to a sliver of health and he's already got 2 allies on him. There's no need for me to go put myself in the middle of that combat situation. That's dealt with. So we're going to focus these guys down. We're going to get rid of them. Both of these guys are the lock-on missile launcher users. He's still got his launcher on him. Now I'm being hit by arrow flak, but I want to get rid of that launcher first. So we do that, and the arrow flak has dealt heavy damage to me as well as some of those missiles, but we do have the energy to blink out. That's where the benefit of the power module comes in, and the lasers. They synergize pretty well to where you can sustain a good amount of damage, a good sustained fire, without running your power bar down too much, and you're able to use that blink or your cloak or whatever utility you've got pretty often, and pretty much whenever you need it. So base was okay. I wanted to go ahead and check it out. They have a couple of guys on their team where their overclock level is high enough to where they can cut a whole connector strip before an opponent may be able to disable or kill them. So I wanted to make sure that our one guy in base was okay on the defense. He was, so I blinked back out, and we're going to survey the battlefield again. We're not just going to charge right in and fight anything and everything. We want to be where we're needed to be. So I shoot the Chain Shredder off of that guy, and my ally's perfectly capable of finishing the job, so I'm not going to stick around and go for that kill. I'm going to let him take the kill. We've disabled his weapon, so the guy over there, my teammate ally, is going to be perfectly fine, and we're going to move in and put some pressure on these enemies in their base. But first, I shot off the missile launcher, and then I immediately turned my attention to the arrow flak, because those are going to be the 2 guys that give me the most trouble in this match, are the guys with my hard counters, and that's lock-on missiles and arrow flak. Rails are somewhat of a hard counter, but they're not as big of a worry as the lock-on missiles and the arrow flak is going to be. Both of those weapons are easier to use, and they affect this build more than rails do. Arrow flak is really good at popping off my rotor blades, so I'm I won't say I'm weak against arrow flak, but it's definitely a hard counter to this build. And the lock-on missile launchers, obviously, they lock on and they're going to hit you unless you're out of range. So you can't count on them missing a shot here and there and being able to deal your damage to them. And here I was trying to peek over this edge and shoot his missile launcher off, even though he was using his rails against me, because I know I can take a few rail hits pretty well. But I did not notice the other lock-on mech over there by his tower, and he got some good hits on me, but luckily we can still fly. Like I said, this is a really good build. It's not as efficient as, say, a drone or a Tesseract, which is a subclass of drone, but it's a pretty darn good copter build, It's not as weak as most other copters I encounter. Other copters don't give me trouble, even wall copters with this thing. So I view it as a successful and good, effective build. We're going to get this guy off the map. Overclock levels are high now, so killing enemies is starting to become more and more important. It's not as important early on in the match, but it is as the match goes on because their respawn time is long, and that gives your team time to move in and take towers or just attack the reactor. You don't necessarily have to have all of the towers to go ahead and finish the match off. If all the enemies are on a long respawn, sometimes it's better to not take that near tower and just go ahead and go in and strip those reactor crystals off, because if you take their near tower and there's a sneaky guy or a guy that's hiding out somewhere on the map, he can actually take that tower back because he's close to it and respawn his entire team. So it's not always good to take every tower that you possibly can, especially if you're just going to lose it right away and you have enemies on respawn waiting. All you're doing is giving them a free respawn. You're getting points, sure, and you may respawn some of your teammates, but the question is, are you respawning more of their team by taking that tower knowing you're just going to lose it right away? If you're, say, the only player over there and there's 3 enemies and you can take the tower fast enough, but they have 4 enemies on a half a minute cooldown still, it's not good to take that tower because they're just going to take it right back and then they're going to respawn the rest of their team. You're actually working against your own team by taking that tower, and a lot of people don't think about things like that. So we've got their base shield down again. I'm going to move in. Hopefully I get some backup from the rest of the team. We've got an ally in here doing work. He just got wiped because he was all alone. I didn't make it over here in time. But what we're going to do is we're going to shoot this lock-on missile launcher off if we can. Got rid of that. We're still taking big hits from another lock-on missile launcher. There's 2 of them over here, and I am incredibly heavily damaged. 1 more hit, and that's probably it for me. I'm down to just just 1 module, it looks like, and a rotor blade. But I do manage to blink out of there, save myself. We heal up, and we're going to go back in, and we're going to finish this match off. Now is definitely the time to move in. Even if we didn't have all the towers, I would say the right choice to make in this situation would be to move in and just finish the match. No need to defend towers, no need to take towers. We can move in and finish this match. I messed up a little bit by charging into the ground close against that powerful plasma, but in normal circumstances it wouldn't have done that much damage, and it probably wouldn't have been such a bad decision. But obviously we're going to win this match anyway. Didn't matter. I'm healed up, full health. We win the match. That's a GG. They were 2 men down. We were 1 man down, so they were 1 man short against us. But we did win that match. Got top damage by far, 2nd score. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.